Names are important. They are the first point of identity for anything, be it objects, animals, or human beings, and it is no different with countries. A country's name alone can tell you something about its environment, culture, values, and/or history. For many African countries, names were given by colonizers who identified them based on what they could exploit from the region or even, rather audaciously, who ruled it. Thus, these African states stood up and decided to redefine themselves in their own words, especially in light of their independence from the white man. Several African countries changed their names, mostly during or after gaining independence, to shed colonial legacies and reclaim indigenous identities. Here's an extensive explanation of 10 African countries that changed their names, focusing on the historical, cultural, and political reasons behind the changes. 1. From Gold Coast to Ghana, 1957. The Gold Coast was named by European traders because of the region's abundance of gold. When the country became the first sub-Saharan African nation to gain independence, its leaders chose the name Ghana to honor the ancient Ghana Empire, a powerful West African state that flourished between the 6th and 13th centuries. Although geographically different, the names symbolize strength, pride, and African heritage. The new name reflected a desire to reconnect with Africa's rich pre-colonial history and assert an identity free from colonial associations. 2. From Upper Volta to Burkina Faso, 1984. Upper Volta was named after the Volta River, a key geographical feature in the region. After a military coup, Thomas Sankara, known as Africa's Che Guevara, renamed the country Burkina Faso, meaning land of upright people in the Mossi and Diola languages. The name emphasized dignity, unity, and pride, aligning with Sankara's revolutionary vision for a self-reliant and anti-imperialist nation. It symbolized a break from colonial legacies and a commitment to national integrity. 3. From Nyasaland to Malawi, 1964. Nyasaland, derived from the local word Nyasa, lake, referred to Lake Malawi. Upon independence, the country was renamed Malawi, drawing inspiration from the ancient Maravi Confederacy, which ruled the region. The name Malawi, often associated with the shimmering reflections of Lake Malawi, represents the nation's indigenous identity and cultural continuity with its pre-colonial history. 4. From Bechuanaland to Botswana, 1966. Bechuanaland was a British protectorate named after the Tswana people, referred to as Bechuana by the British. Botswana reclaimed its indigenous name at independence, derived from Bo land and Tswana, the major ethnic group. The name emphasized the people's identity and sovereignty, marking a new era of self-determination free from the colonial narrative. 5. From Basutoland to Lesotho, 1966. Basutoland was named by British colonizers to identify the territory of the Basuto, Sotho-speaking people. Upon independence, the nation chose Lesotho, which means land of the Sotho-speaking people in the Sesotho language. The name highlighted national unity and indigenous pride while shedding the colonial label. 6. From Rhodesia to Zimbabwe, 1980. Named after Cecil Rhodes, a British imperialist who played a significant role in colonizing southern Africa. After years of guerrilla warfare and negotiations for independence, the new nation adopted Zimbabwe, referencing Zimbabwe, Great Zimbabwe, a historical stone city symbolizing African achievement and resilience. The name change marked the end of British settler rule and celebrated African heritage. 7. From Southwest Africa to Namibia, 1990. The region was called Southwest Africa under German and South African colonial rule. After decades of struggle under South African apartheid, the newly independent country chose Namibia, derived from the Namib Desert, an iconic symbol of the land. The name represented the nation's natural heritage and the end of foreign domination. 8. From French Somaliland to Djibouti, 1977. French Somaliland reflected its status as a French colony in the Horn of Africa. Upon gaining independence, the country was named Djibouti after its capital city. The name's origins are debated, with some attributing it to the Afar word Djibouti, plate, or Somali legends. The change symbolized national unity and severed ties with its colonial identity. 9. From Zaire to Democratic Republic of the Congo, 1997. Known as Congo Free State under King Leopold II, it became Belgian Congo and later Zaire under Mobutu Sese Seko in 1971. After Mobutu's fall in 1997, the country reverted to the Democratic Republic of the Congo to reflect its pre-Mobutu identity and distance itself from his corrupt regime. The name recognizes the Congo River, central to the region's geography and history. 10. From Portuguese Guinea to Guinea-Bissau, 1973. Portuguese Guinea reflected its status as a Portuguese colony. After achieving independence through armed struggle, the country adopted Guinea-Bissau to distinguish itself from neighboring Guinea. Bissau, the name of the capital, was added for clarity and to highlight its unique identity. Many names reflect pre-colonial kingdoms, languages, or geographical features. Renaming was a symbolic act to sever ties with foreign domination. New names often emphasized inclusivity and pride in cultural heritage. Renaming was a declaration of autonomy and a step toward shaping a new national narrative. These changes are profound reminders of Africa's resilience and efforts to reclaim its historical and cultural sovereignty. Let's also look at the countries in Africa that was not colonized. In the history of Africa, only two countries, Ethiopia and Liberia, are generally considered not to have been colonized. However, the reasons and context behind their unique status differ greatly. Below is an extensive exploration of each. 1. Ethiopia. Ethiopia is one of the oldest countries in the world and the only African nation to successfully resist colonization. Its history of independence is tied to several factors. In 1896, Ethiopia, under Emperor Menelik II, decisively defeated the Italian army at the Battle of Adwa, halting Italy's attempts to colonize the country. This victory was a rare instance of an African army defeating a European power during the colonial era. Menelik II's strategic diplomacy, military modernization, and alliances with other European powers allowed Ethiopia to maintain its sovereignty. Ethiopia's rugged, mountainous landscape made invasion and control by foreign powers logistically difficult. As one of the first Christian nations, Ethiopia had a strong sense of national identity and unity centered on the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which helped resist external influences. While Ethiopia was never colonized in the traditional sense, it was occupied by fascist Italy under Benito Mussolini from 1936 to 1941 during World War II. However, this occupation was short-lived, and Ethiopia regained its full independence after Italian forces were expelled with the help of Allied powers. 2. Liberia. Liberia's unique status as an uncolonized African country stems from its foundation as a settlement for freed African Americans. In 1822, Liberia was established as a colony for freed African American slaves by the ACS, a private organization. The freed slaves, called Americo-Liberians, declared independence in 1847, forming the Republic of Liberia. Liberia was closely tied to the United States, which provided it with protection and international recognition. European powers respected Liberia's connection to the U.S. and avoided colonizing it. Liberia's role as a haven for freed slaves aligned with the interests of the U.S. and limited European ambitions in the region. Despite its independence, Liberia faced significant challenges. Tensions existed between the Americo-Liberian settlers and the indigenous African populations. Liberia's economy was heavily reliant on foreign aid and investment, particularly from the U.S., making it vulnerable to external influence. The rest of Africa was colonized due to a combination of European technological superiority, economic motivations, and the outcomes of the Berlin Conference, 1884 to 1885, where European powers partitioned Africa among themselves without regard for indigenous cultures or borders. European nations had advanced weaponry and organized militaries that overwhelmed African resistance. Africa was rich in raw materials and served as a market for European goods during the Industrial Revolution. European powers exploited ethnic and regional rivalries, making it easier to control territories, which is known as divide and rule. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel.